Welcome to the Vantage HR Influencers podcast. This podcast is sponsored by Vantage Circle, the simple and AI-powered rewards and recognition platform for employee engagement.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Vantage Influencers podcast. I'm your host, Sanjeevani Saikia, and today I invite you to join an insightful conversation on the topic HR Digitization, Enhancing Employee Experience, with Mahesh Joshi, CHRO of Honeywell Automation India Ltd. Digital transformation of HR is revolutionizing the employee experience, making processes more efficient and engaging. HR digitization goes beyond automating routine tasks. It's about leveraging technology to create a seamless and enriched workplace environment. From AI-driven recruitment to onboarding and continuous feedback systems, these advancements are redefining how organizations interact with their employees. So to understand this topic in depth, let's begin our conversation. Hi, Mahesh. Thank you so much for joining in today's conversation. Before we get into today's topic, HR digitization, enhancing employee experience, could you tell us a bit about your professional journey so far? We'd love to hear that.
So first of all, Sanjeevani, thank you very much for having me, and very good morning to you.
Good morning.
First of all, currently I'm working with Honeywell Automation India Ltd. I'm part of the Honeywell group from last 10 years. I have a total journey of my last 25 years would be into various different industries, starting from healthcare. I worked in Abbott Labs for Abbott Laboratories or Abbott India Ltd, you can say, for around 9 years. After that, I moved into a manufacturing space where I think so it's a automobile company where it is again US multinational from for last 3.5, 4 years. And then subsequently, I joined Honeywell after that. So in last 24 years, most of the time, I'm with the US multinationals and very blessed with a very diversified and a varied experience that I have.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing your journey with us. I really appreciate it. So with your permission, I'd like to begin today's conversation on the topic.
Oh, definitely. Looking forward for such a wonderful and insightful conversation with you.
Great. Let's go ahead. So as organizations transition from traditional HR practices to digital solutions, they often encounter a multitude of challenges. Again, these challenges can range from resistance to change among employees to the complexity of integrating new technologies into existing systems seamlessly. I believe addressing these hurdles effectively is very crucial for a smooth transition. So I'd like to know from you, what are the key challenges organizations face when transitioning from traditional HR practices to digital solutions? And Mahesh, how can these challenges be effectively addressed?
I think so. You touched upon a very interesting topic, and why I'm saying that, because first of all, let me step back, okay, and help you understand, and as well as the listeners, that why the digital journey is important. So let's understand why digitization is important.
Yes.
And there are two things that I would really want you to talk about. One, that if you see the journey of digitization, old innovations that we actually talked about, which is a telephone, radio, television, computers, electricity, took like, 3 decades to get, acclimatized or to people accept it. And if you subsequently see the social media trends, which is your Facebook, Netflix, Airbnb, Twitter, those stuff, those are basically started with 2.5, 3 years of journey of adoption. So the speed is a lightning fast. So where we used to take, say, 4 decades to accept any of the new innovation and technology, which dropped down to 2.5 for a social media. Now, I was actually reading one article few years back when this chat GPT has been introduced. Any idea that this chat GPT users basically in 5 days they touched the 1 million users in 5 days? It was amazing, and Netflix took that 4 years. So just imagine today you are talking what? Chat GPT, then AI ML in HR. So actually we are in that last stage of technology transformation where the adoption of technology is very, very fast. But with that, I think so, I always see this is a journey. And why I say this is a journey, and very interestingly on a lighter note, this is a journey without a fixed destination. Your destination keep changing. And as an organization, you really need to know where you need to stop. Because the biggest problems today with the organizations is they generally just go with the buzzwords. Today, if you see everywhere, we are talking about the digitization, tech HR, and everybody is trying to evaluate the HR, human resources capital management systems. Okay. And these are the one which comes with all module. You need to take the licenses and then start implementing it. And most of the time it's a failure.
Yes.
Why it is a failure? Because you don't really understand, is it your requirement or not? For example, you buy something which you just see that people are buying, and then post purchase dissonance comes into the play, because when you start using that particular thing, you realize that don't this I don't want it, or this is I don't work like that. And this is something that as an organization that you really need to first understand. Now, once you identify the journey, yes, this is what I need to do it, this is what I wanted. The biggest problem what I see is a change management. Why change management? Because in HR, I always see one interesting thing, Sanjeevani, that if you see, we have gone through so many transformation. Is it a new for us? No. For example, we were a personal department to the HR to the HR business partnership, HR strategic business partner. Then we started talking about the chair in the boardroom. So ideally speaking, these are all transitions that we have seen: technological transition, people transition, culture transitions. And this is one of the transitions that we need to deal with. So ideally, the most important thing is fear of change. And today, if you see, most of the people, what they think is they will lose the job or they will lose the importance. But ideally, I would always say technology will take your job if you do not evolve. So
Yes.
for example, if I keep doing the same work again and again and again, which I started enjoying, and then I'm getting into a comfort zone, nothing new that I would be get replaced by the technology, because technology can't think by itself. It's not that easy. I know the AI ML will have that ability, but then that needs a lot of data behind it. The day-to-day thinking technology cannot do. That's why the repetitive jobs can be easily automated, or technologically enabled, not the innovative jobs. And that is what something that I think so people keep doing it. So fear of change and being comfortable in the job should really a big concern that people generally have. Second is adoption of the technology. Tell me one thing: if you have an iPhone, okay, iPhone has thousands of hacks.
Yes.
We don't know one. We don't know one. That means our savviness to the technology is a big challenge. We just use iPhone because everybody is using and it looks good. Its the speed is good and the security is good. That very basic ticks that we do, and then start using the iPhone. But if you really wanted to be succeed in that, you should be having the right adaptability. Then only the managers, senior leaders, HR would be able to get the optimized benefit of the system. And that is something very, very important. Third is the organizational maturity. Okay. Now, organizational maturity, why I'm saying that, sometime you are an industrial automation company, suppose, and you worked in a certain fashion, and you need that transition time to people to adopt to the new things. But generally, what we do, we actually involve people after the implementation happened. So it actually, they do not get that time, or basically acclimatization to change and to adopt to the new technology. And last but not the least, which I see would be the most important and took a lot of time, at least in my career as well, is a customization. Every organization has a lot of request for the customization. They need tools in a very specific format, where the providing companies like, you have a PeopleSoft, you have a Workday, you have Oracle, you have a lot of these tools which basically comes with the standard suit which you have to customize. So what happened today? On four major parameter, I see one is a fear of change. Second is a adaptability and the knowledge how to use. Third is the organizational maturity, and fourth is a customization. So these are the four very, very common problems that each and every organization will go through. And ideally, you may have a unique challenges as well. I'm not saying no, but then it is depend on the which organization and what situation that you are currently technology as using. Sometime you need to discard the complete technology. You have no path to marry the new technology, and you have to rework the data completely. Those are the very unique challenges that few organizations see. But these are the one which I see majorly in a digitization journey by the organization. But I really don't wanted to wait only at the problems. How to solve it? That is something that we need to enable. And I see three magical words here, being very honest, to solve this: involve, involve, and involve. And why I'm saying that? The biggest problem today is that suppose if I am putting up a HR digital technology piece in my system, I will make sure that there is a 4 5 people from the HR and might be a couple of from the operations can come together, start working on this entire journey, collating the data, working with the new partners, and blah blah blah. But the problem here is we never think about users. We never think about the extended team who will be also getting impacted because of that. So how you need to create the process early or create a platform where everybody will get involved at the right stage or maybe early stage and give their inputs right in the beginning. So what will happen, that will create a collaborative and a cohesive environment for technology to get infused in the system, and everybody would be able to use it very effectively. And then if you have, like, suppose if I am convinced, it would be very easy for me to talk to my HR colleague and convince in the same language that we understand, and then we speak both together. And the same could be done by, say, your services team. Same can be done by the employee resource group. And very interesting, I was talking to few days back, Sanjeevani, to one of the HR colleague of mine from the different company, and I really understood one very interesting thing, that they have basically involved all the employee resource group while implementing the digital platform. So the employee resource group, in their meetings, in their communication, they also started educating a lot of people, which actually solved a lot of their problem. And that is what basically good suggestions will come to you, good partnership will come to you, and good adaptation will come to you. And then third thing what I feel is, if you really wanted to remove this challenges, then you have to talk about the changes upfront, and along with that, advantages and also disadvantages. Because a lot of time what happens, that organization put a lot of positive point forward but not negative, and that is something that people start feeling that, I think so, you're hiding something, and then it would be very difficult, which is not very clear communication strategy that we have. And the clear communication strategy with pros and cons, giving them a heads up right in the beginning, would be much better for evolving and then removing this kind of a hurdles that we see in a technology implementation.
Wonderful. That was very lucidly explained, Mahesh. Um, in your response, I have heard you mentioning about employee resource groups, basically the ERGs.
Yes.
So, could you kindly highlight the role a little bit more?
Okay, so basically, see, every organization has a very different approach on the employee resource group. Now, when I say employee resource group, primarily, if you see the history of resource groups, it's basically come for the fostering diversity. Okay, basically, for example, you must have seen a lot of organizations have implemented the diversity groups. Okay,
Yes.
in past, for
Yes.
example, then it is started with the multilingual and multi-state groups. Okay, because a lot of companies where they have a challenge that they are based in one location and they just prefer one location people, and that's not very nicely welcomed by the industry. So that's they started a groups where a lot of other state people can come together and then form a resource group and give a lot of ideas to break this myth or remove this barrier. Third is your LGBTQ, which is very common.
Hmm.
And fourth, now new thing is coming up is your gender base. So basically baby boomers, then millennials, then Z, Z, Y. So
Hmm.
ideally these are the ones who are also now coming together because their expectations are different,
True.
their thoughts are different. And I think so if you can involve these groups, which is available within your organization, so they do two things for you. One, they bring a diverse perspective that on their job as well as from the mind perspective. Second, what they do interestingly is they also have their own networks on Yammer, Teams, Facebook, Instagram. So they have some reach which you don't have. So they also help to give that linkage to that extended arm or an extended group, which would be helpful for you to make your implementation easier. That's the thought that I had.
Okay. So now I'd like to understand the role of HR digitization in enhancing employee engagement. Basically, in what ways can HR digitization enhance employee experience and engagement within an organization? Since I think by leveraging digital platforms, HR departments can offer personalized experiences and also streamline communication channels. So, I guess exploring the ways in which HR digitization can transform the employee experience is essential. What would you like to say about this?
I think so. See, this is something uh, I would not really sometimes emphasis too much on the personal experience. Okay. Sanjeevani, why I'm saying personal experience, like for example, suppose if you go to say any of the site which is or any of the technology which has been implemented by the organization, it is a common for everyone.
Yes.
Okay. I think so. There's nothing personalized experience I can say up to say Instagram or Facebook, where you have your unique groups available with you, your unique friends available with you, where I think so it would be easier. But here I would really wanted to put it a little differently. Let me first help you understand before I give my analogy. If you remember in past, I think so when we do not have that much technology available, what one common challenge that you must have heard. I don't know how old you are. Very sorry for that. Not in a bad say. But when I started my career, the interesting journey that I have seen कि आप सब कुछ हेड ऑफिस में करते हो. You're getting it. So ideally, they will say the ground staff, which is a field staff, or maybe operators, which is remote at the location. They will say whatever activities you do, all activities are only happening at the head office level. We don't see any advantage of it. So ideally, I first of all see a basic advantage to the organization when it comes to a people is a wider reach. When you have a common platform to reach for everything, be it it's a hiring, firing, be it it's a performance, be it it's a compensation, be it it's a R&R, be it it's a initiative or basically health initiatives, everything is a common across. So that is something a best advantage that you bring, that sense of equalness in the organization if you are having a wider reach of this technology together. Okay. Second important thing is that, for example, nowadays you must have seen point collection and a point redemption. Okay, so a lot of people collate or collect points for R&R, for good work, or for their performance, for a lot of stuff that they do in the organization.
Yes.
Now, initially, what used to happen that you collect somewhere, you then it would be very difficult to redeem. Now, with this kind of a technology, not only this is just an example, lot of stuff you do with other platform can integrate with you, and your basically span of technology would be much wider. So, for example, I was actually talking to couple of guys in one of the conference that their HRM also gives them. Suppose that you gave me award today. Okay, now what people do, if they take the photo of that award or some, and then they put it on their LinkedIn, right? But they actually have in their HCM, they have given that opportunity to directly link to the LinkedIn or directly link to the say Instagram. So what happened basically that here it's a seamless transition between the multiple technologies so that it would be like a more engaged people, because today they need that. Okay. Second, everybody is looking for a one-stop shop. I don't know how many new HCM or the new technologies that you have seen. Everything is on the WhatsApp now. I'm sure you must have heard and seen about it. So you can apply leaves online. You can do everything online on the WhatsApp.
Yeah.
Not even required to go into the HCM system. So ideally speaking, today the experience of HR, experience of employees because of this digitization have multifolded. Being very honest. Okay. Only thing where I see challenge is something that we will cover also in the subsequent discussion is the data privacy piece. Okay. And I think so sometime some good successes that you basically arrive or achieve in this digitization employee enhancement experience is can be amplified in multifold in various other platforms which you never think of. So for example, suppose that your company won a big order, then it can easily go to multiple platforms without or seamlessly in one login kind of a stuff. And those are the stuff. Second, I think so coming back to the productivity. Now, this is something just a technology. Coming back to the productivity, I always see that when you don't waste time in 10 clicks or searching a 10 windows, automatically you save time, and that can be added into your productivity. Now, that can be added in your personal productivity or official productivity. That's an individual choice. because if I wanted to use that time for my exercising by accumulating that at the end of the day for 45 minutes and use it, or maybe I can do something which is of my interest as a bubble assignment or something new in the organization and grow in the system. So those are the stuff. And very interestingly, I was seeing the very interesting thing nowadays. If you log in a day, first login of yourself into a company, there are three smileys that how you feel today, good, bad, ugly, whatever. That's my smiley, crying and red face. You keep clicking. So what this particular technology will do, they also see the sentiment of the organization every day. And this is a dynamic, basically this is very interesting because that also gives you that the day sentiment is good. I think so your productivity is good. So ideally, these things work in twofold. One, simplification of the process. Second, simplification of the process gives the satisfaction and good experiences to the employees. And third, it also helps individual and organizational efficiency. So that is how I basically see. I never see experience or satisfaction of the employee or engagement of the employee in one fold. It is has to be in multifold, and that's how I see particularly this particular topic.
Interesting. Now, shifting gears, Mahesh, could you share examples of successful implementation of HR digitization in companies, highlighting the tangible benefits they have experienced in terms of efficiency, cost savings, and employee satisfaction? And somewhere, I believe examples are a brilliant way to understand the subject matter in depth. So, what would you like to say?
Okay, so I think so. I would refrain, Sanjeevani, to take any example names of the company, which is not very
Yeah,
good. But
sure.
since I'm working in Honeywell, I can always take the liberty that what good things we are doing. Because when I started my journey, it was all a Excel based journey. Okay, I think so. There was a time when I started, it was a punch cards. So I'm not that old, but still I've seen that system where the punch card was also being used, and that is something interesting. From there, today we are up to the face recognition. Now we are actually reached to the face recognition. Now coming back to the implementation in the same company I'm talking about, where I used to punch the card, today there's a face recognition. So just imagine that's the journey. It's been started. But coming back to Honeywell, I think so we proudly say we are a technology company. And when I say I'm technology company, this should not be a new for us. This is a routine way of life as far as the Honeywell is concerned. And this is my 10th year completed in company. And I think so when I look back, we improvised a lot. Basically, and when I say that, it is very common to say that all my hiring to firing, everything is digitized. That is very common. You hire any HCM and you will going to get that. But then all the peripheral activities, how that is linking to the overall scheme of things is something is defined by the actual implementation of the technology success. So for example, if I see there is a very good technology that we are using, which is a performance development tool that we are using in Honeywell, which is we never had a one common HCM in past. Okay, we are right now in the process of creating a new HCM platform. But if you see today that we never had that in past, but still our tools were talking to each other seamlessly. We had a performance development tool. We have a comp adjustment tool. Now our comp adjustment tool was actually talk of the town since 2016 to 2018, 2019, and today as well, because it is uniquely placed. Being very honest, the amount of information that we would be able to give to a manager at a time of deciding the compensation for any person, and this is something a very big success that we have. So for example, suppose if I'm reporting into you and you are giving me a say increase at the annual cycle time, then that point in time you will see what is the comparator basket, what is the internal parity, what was my history, what was my bonus payout history, then what recommendation that tool will give you. If you are going above the recommendation, how that will not be accepted, and you have to give the justification for that. So it's like you just think and it is implemented. So and that's why I thought of talking about this, because then this is called a very effective implementation of the tool. It happens in one day? No. It generally takes couple of cycles to understand, mitigate the risk, then understand the process problems, and then solve over the period of time. So ideally, my personal take here would be, and such lot of example, we have a very good tool called HR Direct. Now, every employee who logs in into the HR Direct, everything is basically kind of a shop that you are getting into, where whatever you want as a supermarket, everything is available there in one login. So ideally, these are the ones which I personally feel something very effective as far as the utilization of the HR and the tools are concerned. But I also wanted to highlight two more things which basically may not be there across everywhere. There is a chatbot that we have introduced with the name called Red. Okay.
Okay.
Now, Red is a something very interesting thing. And why I'm saying that, it is not only give you, suppose if it's a GCP time or global compensation cycle time, it will use for the GCP. If it is a HPD time or a performance development time, it will use for that. If any reminders that comes to me, it will also be in use for that. Then, for example, any approvals which is pending in my queue, it will be used for that. If I wanted to apply for any asset, I can apply from there. If I need to do anything. So ideally, why I'm saying this, that means I talk to you about WhatsApp. Now, WhatsApp will have a lot of challenges, or any external platform will have a lot of challenges of a data issues or leakage or hacking. But where this is an internal bot, so it would be like integrated in a company system, and that gives a lot of effectiveness to us in terms of safety, security, and also kind of a good experience. And third thing, which is last, I would like to highlight, is a predictive analytics. And this is something that we are very, very good at, Sanjeevani, and we have done this across HR, be it it's a attrition, be it it's a longer term retention, be it it's a increments, be it retention bonus tools. It actually tell me to whom to give the retention bonus as a part of recommendation. Just imagine that much detail data analytics been done in the past, or in the backend, and then subsequently been shared the result with us. So predictive analytics is something of future, but we started this journey around 7 years back, 6 7 years back, and I think so we are now over the period of time excelling it, and we are also extending that as a part of our business interactions as well now. So ideally, I would really wanted to say this couple of things are very good as far as the implementations are concerned, and every organization, not only Honeywell, will have this kind of examples, and those needs to be amplified. Those needs to amplify, and then I think so we need to highlight that to them as well.
Great. Again, thanks for explaining and introducing us to the system called RED that you have talked about. Really interesting to learn about that, and also beautifully explain the other pointers as well.
Thank you.
Again, I strongly believe that technologies are poised to reshape traditional HR functions, requiring professionals to adapt and acquire new skills to remain relevant in the digital age. It will be much interesting to know from you, how do you view these technologies reshaping the role of HR professional in the future? And Mahesh, according to you, what skills will become increasingly important in this evolving landscape?
Okay, so I agree with you that the role of HR will change over the period of time, because I think so. I'm just thinking in a little different way here. What I used to do in past and what I'm doing today is something very different. Like, for example, to take any decision, or a smallest or a biggest, first of all, I used to spend time in three things. One, collection of the data. When I collecting the data, there are a lot of errors in the data naturally, because there is no one source of the data. So correcting the data, after collection, correction, and third, then analysis, and fourth is a decision. So suppose if I wanted to present the attrition to anybody, say 2 decades back, then it's a 2 to 3 days of time I need. But today, I think so if I do that job, my tools give me a full presentation ready. I just need to go and talk.
Yeah.
Okay. So within 15 minutes, I can go online on my tool, which is a human capital management tool, which talks between all the tools that we have, and give me the data. So what it entails to me, okay, what it entails to me is, first of all, I have a lot of free time because of this technological enhancement. So I could say this is a free time, or this is a time which I can use productively. So that's why, if you remember, the average HR span in past was around 150, 170, 200 in general scenarios, which now rose to even 1,500. Okay, so in technology companies, I think so that goes up to 1,200, 1,000 as well. That means 1,000 people supported by one HR person. Okay, now what it changed as a person, what it changed. So first of all, my major responsibility was now is now to make sure that I'm putting up a right organizational culture. Now, the moment I say that, a lot of people will say, okay, setting up the culture is a job of HR. I would not say. I'm always saying HR is an enabler. And we need to be enable the business leadership or a leadership to have a right culture in place. Okay, because when the digitization happens, you see a lot of challenges. People will work from anywhere. There is a flexibility. There is a freedom of speech. Now you know the and interestingly, you have a lot of political people, a lot of celebrities where they can use the power of speech the way they want, irrespective they can speak anything which is relevant or not. But you can't allow that in the organizations to happen. That means you need a right culture in place to, and also the maturity. So my first point here would be setting up the culture, how we wanted to run. Our policies should be in line with those digital changes that we are doing, and all the things that employees basically use should be having a framework. It should not be a free flowing. It should be in a framework as an organization. Second, the time which is being left with you, how your company or business earns dollar. You need to know the dollar value proposition. Okay. And why I'm saying that? Because then only you would be able to add value by using that data effectively to give the right solutions to the business. Because I see, like, for example, for leaders being a CHRO or being HR directors or HR leaders, they definitely need to know that my job is not only HR, but to make sure that I'm running the business as well. I'm a business HR. Okay. So business acumen would be most paramount in future as well as in the future and thereafter. So ideally speaking, my thought here would be the time that you spend not spending on the administrative stuff has to be invested in the business acumen. Third, how you're making the entire organizational digital savvy. Okay, that is also a job of HR, because I'll tell you a very interesting thing. For example, content creation. And this is on a lighter note. If you go to any of the reels or anything anywhere, the interesting thing what you see nowadays is the best content you create, the best attention you will get. Now, if you wanted to set up a culture, if you wanted to connect with people, you also have a skill of having how you're communicating or creating that communication skills or a content which will help you guys to reach out to the maximum people and get the appropriate attention. And that is why to make the entire organization digital savvy would be very, very important. Otherwise, what will happen? The leaders who basically now leaders because they have a 15, 17, 20 years of experience, the technology what they used to see in past, still they are having that as in their unconscious mind. They have not changed the way it should be. And now you are asking them to lead the organization with the new technology. So that is the role of HR, where also making sure that organization is having right innovation lines, right digital savviness in the system, adaptability to the new organization. This is something as a HR we need to enable. And then I think so. I'm sure. Have you heard about the meta world? Now I think so. A lot of people you must have heard about the meta world, which is a
Yes.
digital world that Meta is creating. That means suppose Sanjeevani, you are Sanjeevani Saika here, you can create a similar Sanjeevani Saika in digital form in a digital,
Yeah.
and then you can live the same life for what you are living here. So there is a very interesting case being registered in the UK by one of the lady of the rape in the digital world. So now just imagine, have we well prepared to handle such kind of issues? Is that because suppose that even though your organization may be topmost in the digital, but still you have to follow the rules of the regulation or law of the land, and law of the land says posh regulation. So tell me, this comes under the posh or not? We don't know how to deal with this.
Exactly.
So as a HR, how we need to really acclimatize ourselves to this new changing environment, and people should know as well. It's not you and me. We are just team of 18, 15, 17, 25 people, depend on the size of the organization. But this is a larger team under you needs to know that. And this is something, a job of HR to manage that maturity in that digital space, how to put up a respect, because workplace respect is something very, very important. Managing behavior of the people, managing the maturities of the people, manager maturities of the people, and so on and so forth. So that is also something very, very crucial for HR. Third thing I will say, that how your role will change is more towards data privacy. Then DPDP Act, which is recently been Data Protection Data Privacy Act, which has been regulated in our parliament few days back. That would be something that we need to really think through and implement. And fourth, most important and last, is coaching and counseling. Okay.
Yes.
And why I'm saying coaching and counseling, because everybody, you are having Gen Z, then why? And everybody has a different way of using technology, different understanding of using technology, different maturity level, and how you need to coach them to make sure that they understand each other and also understand themselves, their responsibilities and accountabilities. So this is something, the environment in change near you. But you might think, okay, Mahesh, but then what the skill that individual should have? So I know you will commonly hear about the data analytics, which is something you have no other choice but to read the data. Now, what used to happen? You used to create the data, so automatically you know the nitty-gritty of the data by yourself because you're creating it. Now the data is available to you, and that data you need to now speak in front of the leader. So how you need to read the data, get analytics out of it, show that correlation to the business based on the business acumen, based on the lot of stuff that we just now talked about, and then representing your business case is something that you need to learn as a HR partner now. So if you go to any internet or anything, they will tell you data analytics skills are very, very important. Then you will see the regulatory skills are very, very important, or coaching skills are very, very important. So those are the stuff that HR will have to do it over the period of time. I think so. That is how what I see, that the landscape for HR will change, and also the competency for HR will change.
Yeah. You have already mentioned about data privacy in your response, and you have again directed the conversation to another crucial factor. When companies move to digital HR platforms, keeping employee data private and secure is again a big deal. I mean, we are talking about sensitive stuff like salaries or personal information. So, how do you how do we actually keep all this data safe while still leveraging the benefits of digital HR platforms?
This is something most neglected question, I would say, and in my view, most important but most neglected.
Yeah.
And people talk, and this has always been a last. And I represented one of the group few days back, where I started with this particular point, because I'll tell you very interesting thing. I think so. If you see the data privacy regulation, Sanjeevani, is very different across each continent.
Yeah.
I'm saying continent, not the countries. So ideally, if you go to US or EMEA, say EMEA, it's a very different. Americas, it is very different. USA is very different. And Asia Pacific, it is very different. For example, in Asia Pacific, China has a very different regulation compared to ASEAN countries, compared to India. And Europe, more or less, they have a very standard approach, except the few of the high growth countries that they have, like Belarus and blah blah blah. If you remove those, then I think so they have a very stringent and standard practices across that they follow. So ideally, first of all, you need to understand at what maturity level of a data privacy you are at. Okay. For example, I have seen companies where the entire pay sheet report, where salaries, PAN cards, bank account numbers, your date of joining, you just name, sex, everything is with gender, everything would be available in the one file, and that file is getting circulated across. Okay, so it is getting processed by the payroll, and then they are sending it to finance for the making a payment, then finance sending it to the GL, there is a general ledger and general voucher to make those entries, and then it is coming to HR for a validation. So it's an open culture. So I don't know, it's a very bad, and I think so that's why data privacy is first of all a culture. So first, as a matter of fact, it should be a part of our integrity and compliance kind of a framework. That is my first point. And Second, understanding the maturity level of the organization where you are standing, and accordingly you will have to act. Okay, you can't change that over the period of time. Third thing, now implementation of the DPDP will change lot of things. That is a data, digital data and data privacy. So basically, what will happen in this, that accountability of the organizations along with the vendors are multifold. For example, suppose if I'm getting into a contract with you, assume for a minute, and then you are leaking my number to everyone, is also a problem for Honeywell. Okay,
Yeah,
as a principal employer. So ideally speaking, the strong non-disclosable agreements, dealing with the only good companies who has a potential ability to protect my data, and so on and so forth, is also important. Third, today also, I'm sure that you must have applied for loans, or you applied for the licenses and blah blah blah. Your agent says, okay, aapka Aadhaar card and PAN card, please send it to me on a WhatsApp, and you shared. Okay,
yeah,
but just imagine, it has a repercussions. It has a repercussions, and we don't. And as all of us, including me and you on the call today, is also not that well cultured at this juncture to how to protect the data
true.
for self, and then if you don't do it for self, how you do it for others, if you are not bothered about yourself. And that's the cultural change that we need to bring on the table if we wanted to go for more and more digitized platforms and world. And this is something very crucial as a HR team member. And that's why when I was talking about the change, what change individual HR partners needs to be bring in on the chair or on the table, is something is this, that creating that culture, how you need to operate within the digital environment. And that is what my first point in the previous one, bringing the right organization culture. This is also part of the culture that they need to develop over the period of time.
Okay. At what stage do you think India currently is in terms of data privacy? Do you think India is really getting good at this point in time?
So, see, being very open with you, India is a technology hub. Okay. And if you see our internet usage, our technology usage, everywhere we are extremely good. And I think so, our adaptability is very, very good. I personally feel that we are very good when it comes to our technology, our understanding about technology. That's why you just see GCCs are here.
Yeah,
You see all the technology software, bases are here. We have a capability of a captive non-captive centers here. So it's a very interesting journey that we have seen in last 15 years, I would say, after implementation of the IRD or insurance market, which has got opened up in 2008, 9, 10 onwards, and then technology subsequently came in. So ideally, definitely, we have a lot of potential as far as the AI ML is concerned, which will revolution will happen in the HR processes and automating the task. But then it will also pose a lot of challenges for us, because our overall population is not well equipped to handle this kind of a change management. So I'm really very bullish as well as the technology is concerned, but I'm also very cautious when it comes to the implementation, how we handle it, and then how this entire piece will shape up for us. Because two major failures, everything will change, Sanjeevani. Just there are two or three major companies, problem will come on surface with this non-handling of the technology in a right way. I think so we will go 5, 10, 15 years behind immediately from that.
behind, yeah.
Exactly. So that's my concern. And in future, you will see all the big companies who are hiring big way, they will automate their AI selection process. So they will use artificial intelligence highly as a digital chatbots, taking interviews and blah, blah, blah. It's very common. Today, if you see, a lot of companies are making offer also automated. So they take the external parity, internal parity in sync, and they make an offer automatically. No need to even compensation person see the offers. Then I was actually attended a seminar few days back, where it was a reel based learning. So I think so they were having two employees who also wanted to acting, who has an interest in acting, can come together, and then creating a reel for the company. So very interesting things that you will unfold. And that's a one minute learning. I know you and me are not different. We go on that Instagram and Facebook reels and keep scrolling, and
Scrolling,
it is,
yes.
you can't stop. I think so मैंने बहुत बार कोशिश किया है that okay, I will just see for 5 minutes because I'm tired, and that 5 minutes Like 45 minutes, 50 minutes, you never know.
Yeah, true.
And then everything you keep aside and you stuck into this. But so if that we created very effectively for organization, suppose if your organization is in L&D, is in public speaking, is into the, and now you're creating content around it. Just imagine your people are hooked to you just to see what you're doing. So interesting. I think so. These are the new areas that we will see in future, which will be coming up.
Yeah. So, Mahesh, we are arriving at the end of today's episode. And before we wrap up, let's take a moment to look ahead. The future of HR digitization is marked by several emerging trends. So, what do you think? How will these emerging trends shape the future of HR? And what should organizations be doing now to stay ahead of the curve in this rapidly evolving digital landscape?
Okay, so I think so. We discussed and spoke a lot about how the trends will come up in future. I would really wanted to talk about what a organization should do and what should be the cautious points that they need to think through. So ideally, first of all, as I said at my opening speech, don't run behind the buzzwords. Okay,
Yeah.
identify your need. That is a most important one. If you don't understand your need, where you need to stop, up to what you need to spend, what's your capacity and capability, you will be in this loop and you will not be able to come out of it. That's why this is a journey without destination, or basically a changing destination. So you as a person needs, or you as a company needs to know where you need to reach and where you need to stop. Even though the vehicles or vehicles or trains or buses or trucks will keep coming and going, but you don't bother too much. You reached your destination, just stay there. Okay, so that is my first suggestion to everybody. Second suggestion, people are today fascinated about, I think so, chat GPT. So I was actually talking to very interesting conversation. I think so there is a thought leader of HR. I was hearing him, and I think so very nice thing he said, that I asked somebody to create a job description. So that person quickly moved to the chat GPT, and he did the creation of the job description. But after creation of the job description, what happened that we wanted a job description for future. Now, when I say the chat GPT will do what? Whatever cloud data available globally everywhere, that system will scan that data with the keywords, pick up the data, and then show you the best possible scenario. Okay. Now, that is something past, which is already been happened, and that's why it is on the cloud. Now, you want to hire somebody for future. So is it that is been addressed? And that is what something that you need to understand, that everything that you create on the chat GPT may be something a good reference point, but may not be a product. The reason being, because when you are driving a car, you can't drive a car by seeing on the rear view mirrors. You can see, you can learn from the past 10-15%, but your driving should be from the front screen. And that is something that we as a team needs to know, that how much reliance we need to have on this technology and how much a human interventions would be required. And as I said, keep revolving or evolving yourself, because that will make you relevant. If you are not relevant, the system will automatically make you irrelevant, being very honest. So that is what something that we need to, as a team, we need to understand. Third thing, what I really also wanted to say before we really wrap up is, suppose that I'm taking your interview, Sanjeevani, and then you are sending me a CV which is being created on a chat GPT. Now, you tell me, if I say CV for HR partner, and I can say chat GPT will give me everything that HR partners do. But is that Sanjeevani did all those things? I'm taking interview of chatbot, or I'm taking an interview of Sanjeevani? I'm taking interview of Sanjeevani. So what happens? It's sometimes inflated resumes. It would be very difficult to check, and that's why, as a technology organization, we should be having a policy and a process around it, so that I think so we would be having the right dealing process or a mechanism to such kind of a scenarios. That is something I think so we need to think through and start, taking this entire approach future.
Great. Again, you have highlighted crucial points. It's an incredible response, I must say. So we have reached the end of today's podcast. Do you have any message for our listeners? Our listeners would be delighted to hear it from you. Also, our audience might want to stay in touch with you post this podcast. So it would be great if you could tell them how they can reach out to you.
Oh, so basically reachable on the LinkedIn. So you can type my name, Mahesh Joshi and Honeywell. I think so you would be able to see. Right now, I'm leading the Honeywell Automation India Ltd as a CHRO. Second, I think so if you wanted to send me anything personal on my email, you can reach me at maheshjoshi1504@gmail.com. So that is something that I'm generally available on. And from a messaging standpoint, I think so a lot of new MBA students are coming in into the journey of HR. So I would say a couple of things. First of all, don't fix up a job in your mind that I wanted to do only one job. So for example, HR business partnering. So I wanted to really go there, but you need to take a full holistic 360-degree view of HR and should be doing multiple roles in little uncomfortable situation. If you wanted to learn, you can learn in 2 3 scenarios: with bad boss, with bad peers, and with difficult situations or difficult jobs. Otherwise you will not be able to learn. Otherwise it's all hunky dory or a good thing going on. So ideally, get into those situations, you would be able to learn better, expose yourself better, and then it would be easier for you to face any such challenges in future which is not anticipated, and you would be a better professional, and I think so you would be succeed as well. So best of luck to all of you. And Sanjeevani, before we end the podcast, I really wanted to thank you. You're awesome when it asks the questions and the way you conducted a podcast. And we didn't have or did any kind of a practice or nothing. We never spoke. I think we spoke only once when we meet each other for the podcast appointment.
Yes.
So awesome. It was very smooth, and I really acknowledge the way you must have been practicing this in last few years. So thank you very much for this.
Thank you so much, Mahesh. It was incredible to have you in our episode today. And really, thanks a lot. It was a pleasure, sheer pleasure.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Vantage HR Influencers podcast. Please do subscribe to Vantage HR Influencers podcast on Apple Podcast, Spotify, and our YouTube channel for new episodes.